Hello, my name is Stuart Hayes. I've been asked to do this brief interview regarding the civil rights period, and I'll reflect on my personal experiences that were experienced back in the 60s, in the mid-60s primarily, when I was a young lad. So fortunately, the racial tensions in the neighborhood that I was living in at the time were quite high. I was attending in '65 a middle school named Washington Middle School in Long Beach, and the racial tensions there were very noticeable. Fights were breaking out after school. Kids were challenging each other based on their color, and in my case, a very sad thing occurred. My best friend was a student whose last name was Green. He just called me Hayes, and I called him Green. But Green was an African American student, and he was my best friend. That caused some tension among both of the other sides, the white side and the black side of the school. The majority of Washington Junior High School at that time was African American. And apparently our friendship, as I said, caused others to be upset. The next question is, in the midst of the civil rights movement, were the event of the movement readily discussed at home, in school, with your peers? If so, what types of things were discussed? And the foster home, again, I should probably frame this. I didn't live in a normal home. I lived in a foster home. I was in the system as a kid, so I moved from home to home, from one foster home to another, where unfortunately the first series of homes I lived in, racial issues weren't discussed. In fact, there were no intellectual discussions at all. The quality of the environment in those homes was somewhat deteriorated, so any conversations that would have taken place probably would have been non-constructive anyway. My most vivid memory of the civil rights movement was the day that I was in the back seat of a car, and we were aware that riots had broken out. Yet the adult that was driving the car decided to take us, children from this home, down a street where buildings were on fire on both sides. The adult did warn us to lay on the floor. As we were approaching one of the hot spots, we could hear gunshots. We were afraid. We were children. So I remember laying on the floor and wondering if we were going to live through it. When I learned that Barack Obama was a viable candidate for the president of the United States, I thought it would be a good wake-up call for the U.S. And I voted for Barack Obama. And I was excited when he won, and I still think that it has made us a better country, a better people, because I think it has helped some folks understand that it's okay. Get over their fears, get over their biases, get over their prejudices. Value a man for who he is, not by the color of his skin. My views or my feelings on race relations in our country at this time is that we have indeed come a long way, but there are pockets of issues that are still no better than they were before 1965. And I'll just give you one example of one of those pockets that's easy to forget about. And that would be children who are in the foster care system, sort of the forgotten children. A study was done, a survey was done by Huffington Post, or at least was published in Huffington Post, regarding foster care homes in Los Angeles County. I believe actually it was in California, foster homes in California. And according to this study that was published in the Washington Post, 1,000 homes that are foster care homes match the addresses of registered sex offenders. So obviously there's a problem in the foster care system in that the children are at risk when the homeowner is a registered sex offender and they're being assigned to care for a foster child. Something has gone terribly wrong. And the fact that there's been no follow-up, and I'm assuming no correction of that problem, is an indicator to me in terms of level of concern for those children. If it was your child or my child who was at risk, we would be reacting like the house was on fire. We would get them out. We would correct that problem immediately, if not yesterday. But then let's find out, let's think about, let's maybe even talk about why it hasn't been corrected. Who are these children? I challenge you to look at the demographics of the foster care system. I know from my experience that the majority of foster kids that were in the system back in the 60s were children of color. And I would deduce that even today, the majority of children in foster care in the United States are children of color. Now, if that's a fact, and this news was published on the web and in print, that these homes are dangerous places to put kids and nothing's been done about it, then you might ask, why not? Why aren't we doing something about these children who are placed in homes where they're put in harm's way? Now let me add to that question, or amend that question. Why aren't we doing something about these children of color, primarily, who are being put in homes where they're put in harm's way? And I would pause and reflect on that. If they were all children of the white race, I just wonder, would that problem be addressed radically and immediately? So I think it's a fair question.